Before Father Srinu left last week, I was chatting with him about life at home in India and in his particular village, which is near a river. And he was saying that near this river, there's many, many villages. And every single year, the villages flood. And sometimes the water comes up to waist height. And every single year, his parents and all the other villagers in their homes would have to abandon their homes completely for 2-3 weeks or more and go live in a distant place in a school hall, sleeping on the floor. There's a storm, but they adapt. They have to. And adapting to difficulties is one of the greatest challenges in our lives. Some people do it very well, and some struggle. And of course, we've had this storm, which we're in still. And unlike maybe Father Srinu's family, they knew that was coming every year. For us, this was a shock, and maybe remains so. And it's difficult. People have different ways of coping, and I know there's been a lot of emphasis on worrying about older people. But we feel too for young people, for families, concerned about their children's education, their jobs, debts, mortgages, socializing. It's quite a shock and a challenge to them too. And then there are some who deny that there's any problem at all. Maybe that's their way of coping. And Jesus in today's gospel talks about these things, these challenges, this suffering, in terms of the cross. And whether we try and avoid it or somehow live it out as disciples, as followers of his, not taking the easy way, but facing the challenge head on with grace and love and courage. I wonder how Peter would have coped with the pandemic. Such a strong man, the rock, the leader, first to speak, often impetuous, committed, and sometimes fiery. It's interesting because in today's gospel, he's told about a storm that he was not expecting. Jesus speaks of suffering and the cross, and immediately Peter jumps in. He's not jumping into the water this time. He's jumping in with his opinions, with his heartfelt belief, when he says to Jesus, "No, this must not happen to you." But isn't it shocking that someone should tell God what to do? Isn't it shocking that Peter should think he could lead Jesus? That he's got a better way? Does that sound familiar? Maybe we all do that sometimes. Tell God what he should do as we approach difficulties in our lives, rather than just supplicating, seeking his help. It seems like Peter doesn't want to be second, but Jesus puts him firmly in his place. His place is to follow. His place is to be humble. His place is to put God first, leading him. I watched a lovely interview during the week that I'd read about, so I Googled it by, it's one of these mixed martial arts fighters, MMA fighter in America, called Cody Garbrandt. And so I found the interview anyway, just 2 or 3 minutes long. And like you'd expect of one of these professional fighters, he looks tough, all muscles and tattoos. But like a lot of people who maybe look tough on the outside, they're like us, aren't they? Often vulnerable on the inside. He's only in his mid-20s, so he spoke about his short life, saying that he'd always been competitive, especially with his brother. But his life had gone astray a little bit in his late teens. Started taking some drugs, but also, in spite of his success and ability, he doubted himself and got confused, and even tried to take his own life by hanging himself. And it was just at that moment his brother burst into the room and stopped him. And you know, the thing that struck me about his interview was, he said that in his world of fighting, the word surrender is the worst word, a negative word. But he started going to church and he realized that he had to surrender. That he had to surrender his life to God. And so he did. And he realized that we only win with God when we surrender. We only win when we let God win. All the time, accepting where he's leading us, accepting that sometimes it's not our choice or our way, but his, and also accepting our crosses, however difficult they may be. The last frame of that interview was just 3 words he said: I am second.